Dale, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Dale Alverson from New Mexico. Good morning. I just wanted to follow up on Rich's comment. Clearly, and I'm sure you're aware of this, sort of doing your review of the landscape and industry, but for instance, Intel has a huge effort right now to look at the home health care market.
Absolutely.
And if you talk to industry and vendors, I mean, they're quite clear that, they're for profit. They have to look at big market shares, and that really every one of us in this room, everywhere around the world, we're all potential patients. So that's one of the issues. So I think we're going to have to work with industry in making sure that the tools that are developed really are providing quality care that meets the needs of people throughout the world. And Microsoft, same kind of thing, really looking at a world market, but really bringing it to the consumer. So I think we're going to see more of that. But it's no matter how you feel about it, whether you're in academics or in healthcare delivery in general, we really need to work closely with industry to make sure the right tools are developed that are going to be affordable and provide quality care. So, I think we're going to see a lot more of that, and I'm certainly feeling it as we're getting contacted by many big companies that are looking at the healthcare market. Would you agree with that, Rich?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yes.
Thank you.
I would like to get a little bit of an image of what a system would look like. That, for instance, a dermatologist sitting at a desk, looking at a monitor, fielding phone calls from 10 different cities around the state or whatever. That's one image. Another image is this home health. Who are they talking to? Would they be talking to me as a provider in a local community or someone distant? And it puts me in exactly the same place as that dermatologist. I've got to slot time to field those questions.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And could you identify yourself, please, before you leave the mic?
Sorry. Buford Derman. I'm in Lake City, Colorado.
Great, great. Yeah, all of the above. The pictures, what you described is happening now. I mean, those are some of the pictures, as you say, the dermatologist or the specialist. We have actually a couple different scenarios in that kind of a situation. We have some specialists who do block off a chunk of time. So say on Thursdays from 10 to 12, that's when I see my telemedicine patients. But we also have specialists who have simply incorporated into their clinic practice. So for example, they see one person face-to-face in the exam room. They move to the next exam room. They see that person, their next patient, face-to-face via video. They move into the next room. They see their next person face-to-face. So they've incorporated it right into their standard practice. It's not a special thing that they've then needed to do. You have a follow-up question? Yeah, it does that.
I mean, that last scenario is one that appeals to me in the sense that I would like, right now, if I have someone that I need to discuss with a consultant, I call that consultant up on the phone, I interrupt his day, which is an impediment to me. I interrupt his day, but it at least is part of the flow of his day.
Correct.
Is there a system where he could simply hit regardless of which room he's in, that he could hit a button and all of a sudden he's seeing my patient here in my exam room? I mean, that where it's just part of the flow of the day, it seems like the goal that ought to be.
Right, right.
And then, so anyway.
Yes, that's kind of what they've basically done. I mean, it's that service is that patient is able to be seen in your facility. Where if the equipment is available in your facility, they can, and the equipment is available in his facility, it just simply becomes part of the practice, part of the day, as you said. And I think as you look at that from that home health care perspective, as your patients are going to be looking at incorporating that into what they are wanting, they too will then also be looking at, and you too will also need to be kind of figuring out how to incorporate that into your standard, your day's practice.
What's happened so far is we've had the equipment on our end, but the normal consultants that I use in certain areas, they don't have it at their end.
Yeah.
And so what happens is, we've had some situations where I would have loved to be able to show a surgeon who 150 miles away has
Right.
done it, but the wound has a little,
Something,
and
yeah.
I'd say, let me show this to you. He scratches his head and doesn't know how to do it.
Right.
Doesn't know how to get it done. Is there a tactic for inducing?
That's a whole day's worth of.
Actually, that might be a good point to raise
Yes.
when we talk about what the tipping point is. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll actually give you some time at your tables to discuss that. So let's take maybe one or two more questions, and then we're going to transition to something else. So Peter, go ahead.
Mary, one of the things that didn't come up, which has been a traditional issue, at least in interstate telemedicine, we focus a lot more on the intrastate, but it's this whole issue of licensure and malpractice exposure, and we keep finding that as an impediment to reasonable discussion. And I'm wondering, are we making any progress at having national licensure or some reciprocity between bordering states where we have a special license that allows for that exchange without the potential for the liability? Because we all know that we're in a contentious society, and so if there are issues, do we have the means of addressing them, or is this still somewhat of an impediment for, because I know Mayo Clinic and Cleveland Clinic and MD Anderson, they're all doing a lot of national and international outreach, and they're using technology, and I know that they typically license their doctors in most of the states where they have outreach. But for those general practitioners that are in border, in the rural communities that border another state where it might be easier, do we have any efforts now to resolve that?
Efforts, yes. Resolution, no. There's a great deal of conversation going on this particular topic. There are states, for example, Minnesota has a telemedicine license. They have set it up so that if you are providing services into Minnesota as a specialist, you can apply for a different license than is the traditional, I guess, so to speak, license. Now, am I advocating that? Not necessarily. But there is conversation going on about, how do we figure out this reciprocity thing? How do we grow this without having this impediment of licensure? I know that ATA is certainly in that conversation. Interestingly enough, I was on a task force over the last year with the American Bar Association as to what would be a realistic opportunity for them, and they too are saying we've got to figure out how to move past this issue of licensure being a roadblock for us in telemedicine. So they even the lawyers are saying we've got to figure this out because it's not making any sense. So is there a solution? No. But are we working towards it? Yes. And I think it's a continuous, and it's becoming more urgent as we kind of go along.
Okay, thank you. Senator Hagedorn.
Thanks, Chris. Do I need to turn it on?
I'm sorry, I just can't see you otherwise. Hello.
I'm not sure. Let me just.
Well, I don't think I really need it. Bob, there we go. Oh.
Get close to me, though.
I just want to play a little game for a second. I'm a trial lawyer. Say my name is John Edwards. I have a doctor on the witness stand, and I ask him, you first saw my client's mole on the TV?
Mm-hmm.
Tort liability is something that's going to have to be very much addressed in order for expanded use of telehealth.
Absolutely.
Because the first major lawsuit against a doc who utilized telehealth, used technology, it's going to have a dampening effect on other physicians and providers using it.
Mm-hmm.
I sat through a webinar 2 weeks ago on X-ray compression and decompression. Significant part of this webinar was about how accurate it is with another negative, the negatives, the traditional X-rays,
Right.
and talking about 99.8% and
Accuracy.
pointing out that radiologists are not going to be using technology if they can't cover their butts when they get sued by a trial lawyer.
That's right.
And unfortunately, and it's kind of ironic, the Democrats are moving on healthcare reform and probably our biggest allies in technology and health, but they also have a stakeholder called the trial lawyers. But there has got to be, and I think all of us need to start keeping this in mind, is that we will have to do some medical malpractice tort reform in order to see great expansion of the use of technology in diagnosis.